The world of Valor has changed a lot since the previous videos, as I've been working relentlessly to fix the problems I had with it. Shortly after making my previous videos, I felt very unsatisfied with the project. It felt very generic, I didn't feel confident in where to go with it, and so after many dead ends, I finally come to the point I'm at now. I'm still very much figuring it out as I go, but I feel confident enough to start working on it properly again. I'll be going over the foundation of it in basics, as I wish to expand upon everything we talk about now in future videos. The world is now set after a great technological regression. Not much is known about the past other than the ruins and remnants left of fallen empires. The regression took place after a war that hasn't ended since, still being fought by most every country in the world, as few know anything but war. The technological level of the world is roughly akin to the medieval times, except for the aforementioned remnants. Advanced technologies from the old world dug up from ruins and worshipped. Anything from machine guns, tanks the size of manors, machinery and much more are dragged out of their cold dark depths to once more spill blood on battlefields that know it too well. Needless to say, the war being fought has been utterly changed by their use, as machine guns, black powder, bows and swords all clash on the same battlefield. Knights on horseback ride past burning landships, while soldiers in the backlines whisper of planes as if they were monsters from folk stories. The battlefield is a nightmarish, cluttered hellscape of fortifications, churches, castles and trenches, decaying machines of war, graveyards and the drown's otherworldly eldritch influences, as the restless spirits of countless dead physically deform and corrupt the world around them. The goal with the war is to give an interesting entry point to explore most of the factions in the world, as the war is made up of a whole lot of factions, each with their own cultures, ways of fighting, beliefs and so on, as well as being the main motivation behind the exploration of the old world ruins. Speaking of the ruins, let's delve in. I mentioned in a previous video that structures and environments could be affected and morphed by drowmic corruption. I combined that with the concept of the crucible cities, who have now been replaced by the old world ruins. The civilizations of old made these monolithic cities, castles and structures so big that they seem to have no end that litter the world today. They are combinations of industrial hellscapes and gothic castles that stretch far into the sky and deep into the ground, that have been horrifically corrupted by the drown, and have the highest concentration of them as a result. The ruins will be explored in more detail on an individual basis however, as they all vary quite a bit, but for now what's important is that they are the locations where remnant equipment can be found, and are, as a result, vital to the function of the world. I feel it is important to mention that the war is currently being fought over these ruins, and as such often spills into them, with the biggest battles usually taking place within them. However, this has not stopped a large amount of people to flock to them despite the danger of war and the drowmic scourge for opportunities, as they are filled to the brim with rare resources. So a lot of towns and cities in the world are haphazardly built into, around and on top of the ruins, with the larger cities usually being built in the shallower areas, while small towns and villages often stretch quite deep in, providing valuable sanctuary for those who explore them. Similarly to the battlefield, however, the high amount of drowmic corruption forces people and towns to be utterly cluttered and choked with religious artifacts and candles, with the towns and altars at the deepest points being in such hostile territory that you can barely recognize the shapes of houses and mounds of wax and prayers. Now, there's one more thing I'd like to touch on. A people known as the pilgrims are those who most frequently delve into the ruins. They have ritual candles in their hearts that seemingly anchor their soul to their body, and are often regarded as odd by other people, as myths and rumors about them run rampant. Some say they are people from the old world who passed away before gradually coming back to life in the current age for reasons foreign to all, even themselves. Shortly after awakening, they will hear a choir of whispers and voices that seemingly gives them a purpose, something it wants them to do for it. Some choose to follow it, where others ignore it, but those who follow are seemingly beckoned into the depths of the ruins by something unknown. However, none have made it deep enough to discover what it is. Due to the need to explore the ruins, they are often hired by factions for a myriad of jobs related to them, while some pilgrims have set up their own orders to help each other out. The warring factions rely quite heavily on them as a result, and they are most frequently hired to track down remnant equipment or to purge particularly bothersome Draumic entities. The main character future videos will follow is one such pilgrim, one given the purpose of recording knowledge like different ruins and their architecture, Draumic monsters and effects, towns, people, cultures and the food they eat and so on, which is more or less what I plan on focusing future videos on. There will be more videos on bigger parts of the world, but I also want to focus on the smaller things to help the world feel lived in. With that being said, what I'm aiming for is a heavily Soulsborne inspired world, based in dark fantasy, cosmic horror, war and exploration, where faith is paramount. The goal for the project is mostly just to design and embrace my love of monsters, strange characters and horror. I believe one of the critical mistakes I made before was setting myself the expectation that I'd cover all the major lore of the world first, and then get into the smaller stuff I actually wanted to cover. That combined with the fact that I didn't have a strong foundation for the world figured out, I burnt out nearly instantly. So to remedy this problem, I'm gonna be making videos about whatever I want to cover, no matter how small or large, and the lore will come with it. I hope this serves as a somewhat comprehensive overview of the important parts of the world, so that I'm not leaving you completely in the dark when I start talking about smaller lore tidbits. Hope you enjoyed the video, and now, please get out of my home. You've been standing there for an awful long time. Thank you. For a little bit of an unscripted tangent, I wanted to thank everyone who has had the patience to stay with the project while I'm figuring everything out, like a fucking dumbass. This fucking creature is taking far longer than expected.